righty, welcome everyone to our Notion times the Community Collective event. Can't even say the word Community Collective, about how to know if community is right for your business. Can everyone please go into the reactions button? Make sure you can hear me. Please push the claps button. If you can hear me loud and clear, you're pumped to be here. Awesome. Is this anyone's first time in Gather Round? Give me the thumbs up emoji reaction in Gather Round if that is you, because we have actually been testing a lot of different platforms and moved around to basically gather around here. So we do have quite a few people who are new. Welcome. This platform is incredible and super interactive. And basically all you need to know is that when you hear Ruben share something really funny on our panel, you're going to do the laugh emoji. You're just going to laugh, click the laugh emojis in the reactions. When Silva blows your mind and shares some really cool facts, you're going to click the wow emoji. And when Abby just shares some amazing stories, you're going to give so many thumbs up, because we love absolutely having so many reactions and just being super interactive here. So you are a participant. Shut down everything else, make a good time even better by shutting down your other tabs, any phones that you've got going on. Just give us your full attention, which can be scary, right? But we're here to speak about something that's very important, because we love gathering live. And this has been a question that we have gotten from so many founders, community builders and operators around, hey, should I build a community for my business? We are in the age of AI and things becoming extremely difficult to understand how to cut through the noise. When there's so much generic content, people are overwhelmed, information overload, the cost price of oil is rising, we have World War III potentially happening, people are in recession. Like, there is a lot. Okay, so let's just take a deep breath in. I want us to all just take a deep breath in collectively. So exhale anything out, and we're all going to breathe in together. And then just breathe out, okay? And breathe in again through the nose. And breathe out. There is a lot going on in the world right now. And so one, I'm just so grateful that you choose to be here with us live. And also to really ask yourselves, maybe community is the next answer for you in your building. So that's why we've gathered incredible experts, Ruben, Abby, and Selva here live to talk about this exact topic. And we've got Enos here for Community Collective. She is our tech master in the chat. So if you need anything, she is there. And we've got Alex, who's also from Notion. And so I'm gathering here today from the land of the Wadawurrung people. So I'm based down in the Surf Coast along Ocean Road. And this is actually drone footage that my brother took of the beautiful coast down this way. And that is the land of the Wadawurrung people. And so I'd love to hear, where is it tuning in from today? Post in the chat, which city are you based in? Are you in Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland? Post in the chat which city you're based in, which country. We've got, Carmen's in Perth. Joya is here from Boston, USA. Amazing. Cass is also in Sydney, New York City, California. Whoa. A lot of USA representation today. I love that. I'm in Australia. So completely other side of it. Sweden. Beck, CC and represent. Okay, we've got some really cool, awesome people. Sam's here. How nice. Well, today we are gathering because of our incredible partner, Notion. Add a thumbs up reaction if you use Notion. We are obsessed because Notion allows us to bring these free public event live to educate you on topics that matter most. So if you're new to Notion, it is an incredibly powerful AI-backed tech tool that allows you to basically supercharge and 10x your productivity for your personal life, your professional life, and your business. It's a great tool to also build community functionalities on. And today we'll have a demo how Ruben is using Notion to basically understand how you can do that too. We also have a gift for all of you. We're going to give you the gift right now in the chat. It is a link to also get 6 months free on the business plan of Notion. So grateful that Alex has given us this gift. And so basically you can jump into the chat and click the link that allows you to access the Notion gift. And if you are building a business, you can get 6 months free, which allows you to use the AI functionalities. They've got AI agents, so you can build so many different tech platforms. So I just want to give that all free today to their business plan for anyone who's curious about it, because this is a great way to also test and build communities. So Alex and I first properly met in Sydney at the Community Collective birthday party this year. He's based over in Auckland, and he has a very special role today that you will find out very soon. But is this anyone's first Community Collective event? Just post a yes in the chat if this is your first live event with the Community Collective. I'm Paz, one of the co-founders. Oh, love that, Sue. Okay, we've got a lot of first-time comers here. Well, if this is first event, I want to make sure that you know actually got here. So we accidentally started a meetup that went viral in 2021 in community builders at the Commons in Cremorne. We gathered people to basically understand how do they build community and how can we actually help each other do that better. And so we came together with one question, which was how do we build more inclusive, safe, dynamic communities? But what we didn't realize is that meetup would go viral, and we had 100 of people sign up all over the world within a matter of months. And after a year, I personally quit my job at a university. I was working full-time and registered the Community Collective as a business, and then served all of the 100. There was 900 people in this free meetup community. I went out and interviewed them for 3 months to ask them what they needed with. And after that, we basically built an 8-week training program to serve community builders. So we train businesses how to build impactful communities, and we've done that for Google, Canva, Notion, as well as MYOB, and have had lots of trainings and incredible businesses all around the world go through our training. And we also do that through our education, which is where we land today. So we're going to do a check-in at the start of this session. We're then going to jump into our panel conversation with Abby, Selva, and Ruben. We're going to do a live Notion demo and basically just see Ruben's brain, which is fun, right? And then we'll allow all of you to ask some questions. So you can ask that in the chat, or you can raise your hand. There's this really good raise hand function in Gather Round. And so you can do that, and we'll get you up live on the stage, unmute and ask. I know, scary, right? You totally don't have to do that if you don't want to. We also have a gift for all of you that Alex and I have created in Notion. I've basically documented my entire community brain in a free Notion resource library that we'll share only with those who stay to the very end. And we've got some cool book prizes, and we're giving away a full scholarship to our Community Cohort #8 program to one lucky winner. We will announce the winner live at the very end. They're actually here today, right now, which is pretty wild because it was chosen at random. So if you stay to the end, you'll find out who that is. And so some of the elements that are happening today, if you get up live on the stage, you unmute, you ask our panelists a question, we're going to be giving
you're muted.
Oh, all right, we're back on. Here we go. So I was on mute. Oh my God, how rude of Gather Round to mute me. That's wild. We're back. Thanks, gang. We'll go through this and make it out alive. If everyone can turn their cameras off, actually, so we can actually have our panelists join on the stage. Fantastic. We've got everyone. Wow, there's actually like 3 pages of everyone here live. That is fantastic. Well, now I get to run an incredible check-in and actually just get a bit of a read of the room. So we have a question here for all of you today. So I'd like to ask you, how confident do you feel that community is right for your business? You know, if you're running a business, you're an employee working for a current company, all you need to do is just pick either 1, 2, or 3, click submit your answer to vote. And we're going to have all right, the results are coming. All right, roger that. Yes, the results are coming in fast. We have them loud and clear. So the results are, we've got our majority are very confident that their business has a community and it's right. Okay, I love that. We're going to validate why that is the case. We've got some people who are like somewhat confident, a couple people who are not confident, which is totally fine. And really also understand, you know, no matter where you are on the scale, we're lifetime learners, right? So wherever you are, you're either going to validate your confidence or you're going to understand whether this is the right move for your business. Because it's hard to know. It's like, is it a marketing strategy? Should you do a partnership strategy, a sales strategy, or a community strategy? Obviously, we're speaking about a community strategy. And the second question that we would like to ask you is, anyone using Notion? You know, this is a fantastic, affordable tool that can scale alongside you. And so we would love to hear if you're already using Notion, if you're an expert, everything's built on Notion, your brain is documented, or maybe you're just like dabbling. You're like, I use Notion a little bit, right? Notion is, Sean is in the house. Okay, we're just going to break the internet with that arrival. I love that. We've got a lot of people who are new to Notion. Okay, very, very fun. Oh, Sass Mini's here. How good. All right, well, no matter where you are as well, we're going to do a bit of a demo to actually go, all right, cool, like let's make this really practical. And if you actually do want to use Notion to actually build out some of the, community functionalities, then we will show you all of that. And obviously you've got the 6 months free gift, which we'll put in the chat again now, because we've just had Rima, Yvonne, and Haran join live as well. So we'll put the Notion gift in there for all of our newcomers. All right, gang. Well, thank you for checking in with me. We are going to get our panelists up here on the main stage for this incredible conversation, because I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to each and every one of them. And the first up, we have the famous Ruben Williams, longtime tuner inner and also a good friend of mine. And so Ruben is based in Melbourne, and he is the founder of SportsGrad, which is an incredible business and community that helps anyone land a job in sport. So if you want to be part of Netball Australia, the AFL, cricket, you name it, that is the place to go. And Ruben and I have been founders together and also call each other on different journeys, just being like, how's your business going? We surviving, and it's been fantastic. So Ruben, how are you feeling today? You pumped for the session?
G'day, good to see you, Paz. Thanks for getting me involved again. And yes, it was a life-changing toasty that we shared at the Commons in Cremorne that led us here today years and years ago. So, but very pumped to be here today. Community's been an awesome driver of what SportsGrad has become. So yeah, keen to share some insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's good lesson for saying hi to people in the breakfast line. All right. And of course, we have Abby Pantano, who's tuning in from Sydney at the moment. She's the founder of the Impact Collab and also the community lead at One Roof, and also recently appointed as a community coach at the Community Collective. Whoop, whoop. And Abby has basically been a community strategist for many years. She's helped many founders ask and answer the question, is community right for their business? And has helped many different types of businesses, mainly in the impact space, around building community, and actually have that as a forcing function and a driver of the business itself. And so, Abby, are you pumped for today's session as well? You've got so many secrets to share. I'm very excited.
So pumped. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. I love it. And isn't there a Notion event in Sydney tonight, Abby? You're going to do the back-to-back?
Yeah, I think like today's going to be all about Community Collective and Notion. How it doesn't get much better than this.
Oh, it does not get better than this. Now, we've got Selva as well as our final panelist, who is joining in from Auckland. And Selva is an incredible community strategist and also works at the Auckland Council. He previously had a consulting businesses as well that would help founders create their own communities and launch them from scratch, and has had incredible businesses and roles in the past at Cora and MYOB, actually building community internally there as well. So Selva, how are you going? You pumped for today's session? You got some secrets to share too?
Oh yeah, totally thrilled. Yeah, it's been great knowing you, past meeting at the Commons again. And, what a coincidence, like we all met in the comments. And then being through this Community Collective journey. And I'm so looking forward to this one because I have not been doing public talks for a while now. So yeah, good to come back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Well, let's dive straight in. All right, let's cut to the chase. We've got a lot of people here. Everyone's kind of wondering. So Ruben, let's start with like the big picture. Why would building a community become a critical part of a business? Like, why should we bother actually gathering people in a private space? And what value has that actually brought to SportsGrad in your own business?
I think fundamentally, like, having a community, at least for my business, it has just made the whole thing better. Like, ideas for the content that we create come from our community. Referrals for new customers come from community as well. Even just making it an enjoyable business to run comes from the community as well. Like, and the way that we got there was by kind of experiencing the benefit of connections and where that was leading people to around the world. So, for example, one of my key staff members is a guy called Jai, who is from Jaipur. And for many years, he would jump on webinars like this. He'd have his camera turned off. He'd just have his microphone turned off as well. I only knew him as a black box with a name in the corner. And one day I made my first trip to India in 2023, and Jai reached out to me and said, hey, like, I'd would love to show you around India and take you out for dinner. And he was in Mumbai at this point in time, and so he collected me from the airport, took me out for dinner. I thought, this is incredible. Like, I didn't realize like what having a group of raving fans could provide me in terms of experience. But then I thought, that shouldn't just be limited to the founder. Everyone should be able to do that. And so that's when we started, introducing ways for members to like self-organize and get together and start, catching up outside of the sessions that we were running, and allowing the industry to get involved in that as well. And because of like connections to people in the industry were a fundamental part of the value that we could provide in helping people get the outcome that they come to us for, and that is get a job in sport. Community and events and anything that brought people together just made a lot of sense. So we're about 5 or 6 years down the track now, and we're running we call it Friday Coffee Club. We're doing one in Melbourne tomorrow morning. And this week we're very lucky that we've got a very special guest joining us. His name is Garth Towan. He is the head of commercial games delivery at the International Olympic Committee. And he texted me on Tuesday this week being like, hey, Ruben, I'm in Melbourne. Can I join a coffee club? Like, he reached out to me and I was like, absolutely, you can join Coffee Club. And so I've texted the WhatsApp group for our Sports Grad members, being like, guys, drop everything, come and meet this guy who works for the Olympics on Friday. So we'll get together and have coffee. And again, like, those people leave, tell their friends, be like, Sports Grad gave me the opportunity to meet a bloke from the Olympics. So it's having a community has provided a huge benefit.
Yeah. And, it's those moments that you can't quantify, but at scale, they just change everything, right? And you look at some of these companies of Canva have 150 million creators in their community building templates for free on their platform every day. We have Notion, who have hundreds of chapters all around the world with Notion tiers, just organizing free meetups for people to come and gather and talk about their tech product. And it's just like, you cannot replicate that. You cannot hire that many staff members to create that type of viral impact and just that affinity for the brand. I know that every time like someone gets a job in Sports Grad, they take a photo together, like, do the thing, Ruben. You get like a selfie and you're like, yeah, and they share it and they're like bound together and everyone's like, yeah, you got the job, go Stacey. Like, that is just insane. And that is what culture creates and also what impact creates. And so speaking of impact, I mean, Abby, you're a founder. You've built a community-led business from scratch. You've helped other businesses launch communities as well. Like, why was community on your radar as the strategy to build your business?
Yeah, sure. So I had a kind of an interesting journey. My background was in marketing and partnerships, and I realized very quickly that marketing wasn't setting my soul on fire, but wow, partnerships. So I was like, I love the opportunity to come together with someone and be like, what a problem we see in the world and what can we do to address it? And our reach was so much wider. It's like, how can we hold on to our money and also have exponential impact and reach? And so I had this opportunity to become a co-owner in a co-working space. And before that, I had started dabbling within social entrepreneurship, and I found I just couldn't find my people. And it was when I was going to traditional business meetups, I'd find them by the water cooler, but I was like, I just want to be immersed with my people. And when I would find those people by the water cooler, they go, I feel really lonely as well, and I'm burnt out. And building a business with impact it's building a business on hard mode. And so when I had this opportunity with the co-working place, I was like, all right, I've been like collecting people like Pokemon cards, like, let's meet here. And so it was a bit unstructured. It was like, okay, well, now we have a place to meet. And then what happened from there was I was running a lot of ad hoc events. The energy investment to run ad hoc events, to build trust, to fill the room, that stress that, the week before the event, and you go, why did I decide to organize this? It's so stressful. And of course, a lot of the times it comes through at the end, and sometimes it doesn't. And I was like, I just want to have something that's reliable, that's easier on my nervous system. And it was the same faces that were showing up. We're like, okay. And same as Ruben, it's like, let's build in a cadence. So we're like, let's build a monthly co-working day. And so suddenly I had the space that was filled with people. And I was like, okay, well, like this is what we needed. And it was funny because there's kind of crickets in between the co-working day. They were like, I'm just here for the community, And so when lockdown happened, that old lockdown, there was just this opportunity to go, okay, we've got the people, we've connected them. What does it look like to create an online experience to keep them sticky? So so it grew from there. And then I had people going, oh, well, I've got someone else I've spoken to who they're feeling really lonely. I'm going to bring them on the journey. And so it just had this like beautiful snowball effect. So in 2023, I was like, do you know what? I'm selling the co-working space. I sold it back to my co-founder. And I was like, I'm going all in on the Impact Collab. And I mean, I sold the website, I sold everything. And it's only now, you might have seen if you click the link, it's a pretty basic website. I'm in the process of building a new one with the community, but it's because it grew through referrals. It just continued to snowball. And the way that we had this engagement was really beautiful. And again, it's so much easier on my nervous system because I know what to anticipate. You know, each Monday we have a 30-minute check-in. The second Friday of the month, we have a co-working day across 3 different cities. We have a skill share across the network. And that was the other piece as well, is going, I knew what my limitations were. And as a founder, like I call myself a community architect. I didn't want to come in as thought leadership. I'm not like having to be like, I'm the Messiah, I have all the information, I'll just tell you what to do. I was like, I want to put the right people in the right rooms with the right structures and let the magic happen. And so the whole, everything I've done with this community and for each of the organizations that I've worked with and the founders I've worked with subsequently has been around going, don't build an audience, build a community, be an architect, create the space for participation. From participation, you'll then have the engagement and the growth comes from that participation. But our job is to get that first seed planted so it feels easy and we want to move up to that next. So that's
love that. I love that, Abby. And you just raised such an awesome point because there is a key difference between building an audience and building a community for a business, right? And so I want to really double down and just make sure everyone here is on the same page of what Abby is talking about, because every business should have an audience. That is a group of people, they consume your brand, they're loyal, they follow you on Instagram, they read your newsletter, they click your website and read the blog, but it's a one-to-many communication style. It's the triangular model that we call it the CC. And this is basically, there's a minimal sense of belonging, right? Like your audience, subscribers of your newsletter can't talk to each other. That would be like a massive data breach if that happened. But you should be able to also deliver value, sell to customers, and turn your audience into fans. But not every business should have a community. And the clear distinction here is, at what point does your audience become the community? Well, if you've turned your newsletter subscribers and invited them into a private WhatsApp where they connect and support each other on a regular basis, or a private dinner club, or the Monday coffee, or the regular Friday meetups that Ruben does, it's where there's this active sense of belonging. Everyone can talk to each other. There is a regular cadence, and we define a community as a group of people who connect on a regular basis and have a shared sense of purpose and support one another. If they aren't supporting each other, it's not a community, right? A once-off event is an audience. Your newsletter is an audience. Your private WhatsApp or your Discord or your Slack is a community. And then there's debatable of if it's successful or not. But the key thing that we're talking about here is exactly what I want to ask Selva, because Selva, you have dived into this work so much. And we have people who, you know, we had over 120 questions submitted for this panel. I'm going to ask Selva all of them right now in a rapid fire round. No, I'm not going to do that. But Selva, the biggest question we got from everyone here was like, okay, cool, you know, community strategy sounds great, but how do I decide if that's worth it for my business? I'm busy, I'm a founder, I've got to make sales, I've got to actually like build the team, I've got to hire, like I don't have time to just like run a community. So how do you know if it's the right move and if it's not the right move?
Wow, such a great question, and you keep the tough one for me. Thanks, Beth. But I think somewhere in the response to your previous questions, Ruben and Abby actually answered this. I'm just going to kind of like give a wider framework that I use, or a methodology you may call it, to determine the response to this question based on their answers. So I call it the CORE framework, the CORE. Where C is basically the customer or the community dependency. So the first question we ask is whether our customers or community actually need each other to succeed with the product or the services that we're offering. In Ruben's case and in Abby's case, that's very evident, right? So customers generally wanted to share workarounds, learn from their peers, swap notes, swap things that work, that don't work, etc. And when that happens, that's actually a green light. So this is when the community actually feels that they are participating as well as like getting something out of that. But if the customer success is completely independent of each other, or the community success is completely independent of each other, then the community won't feel a natural way for them to be a part of it. And that's when we will be consistently pushing people towards each other, and by doing that, pushing them away from each other. So that's basically the C, and then the O is basically the outcome timeline. Generally, community takes a long time to grow, and it's a slow infrastructure, and it's not a quick growth hack like any other businesses. So the leadership needs to kind of like understand and have a reasonable time for the community to come together, nurture, and then grow on its own. But it can't give you a return on like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So one needs to understand that. And then the R is basically the recurring reasons to gather, very evident from Ruben's case as well as like Abby's case here, right? This is where most communities generally quietly die because they launch with all the energies they have got. But in 6 months' time, if you actually see there's nothing new to talk about, and then they actually need to ask, is there a shared identity or an ongoing practice or a persistent problem our community is facing? So some of them actually fail to address this and look at the dashboards and the numbers alone. And then finally, E is the energy source, which is basically the money and the resources and who's going to manage it, who's going to actually spend that time with building the human-to-human connection. Are we actually going to have a community manager or as a founder, like I'm going to do that job, etc. So eventually, a good community is where the members take over, but to get there, the founder needs to put in the time. So this is basically a methodology or framework. I do understand that every business and every kind of like idea would not fit into that frame. So we also have something called the gut check. So go with your guts first. Like if you think that you are actually delivering some value back to the people, and if you're convinced about that, then you go back and then you can rework on your models. But if you don't, then perhaps like, that's not the right move. So community is a wrong call when your product either has a high churn or when your market has a highly competitive price where you can't compete against, and or when you generally only have a pre-product market fit, or just don't have a reason for community or people to come together and learn from each other. So that's not the case.
Oh, can we just get some clap emojis for Selva of just giving us that core framework, which was amazing, and really thinking about, we've now spoken about like the benefits of community for a business. You get retention, results, ROI, there's brand affiliation, referrals, word of mouth, and just that impact. And then Selva's given us this framework. Okay, well, if you're bought in and you're like, all right, yes, community is for my business. Now we got to ask Ruben, how do you go about landing your first 10 members, right? The hardest part. How did you do that at SportsGrad, and what advice do you have?
Yeah, great question. So SportsGrad started as a YouTube channel, and for 3 years I kind of created YouTube videos about where I'd interview people about how they got their job in the sports industry, and did this in a very inconsistent way that meant over 3 years I only had 30 subscribers. But when it really started to take off was when I relaunched it as a podcast, and this was in the middle of COVID. Everyone had like just lost their job in the sports industry. So we kind of timed the market well by coming out with a podcast on how to get a job in sport. And it hit #1 on the careers charts in Australia within 2 or 3 days. But through a combination of like creating content and interviewing people in the industry on top of posting regular content to LinkedIn with like, advice that I was hearing from people in the industry. That was how I first created an audience, as Paz says. But then once it really started to become a community was when we actually gave them the space to talk to each other. So at the end of 2020, that's when we launched a Discord server, and people jumped in, and, we thought they would jump in for a lot of different reasons. All right. It's like, I just want to, I'm here to connect and meet different people so that I can grow my career in sport. Then we'd ask some people like, why are you here? And they're like, I'm only here for the live sport channel. Like, I just want to chat about what's happening in sport. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever floats your boat. But in terms of like, getting the first 10, it came from offering a lot of value up front so that people saw Ruben/SportsGrad as a trusted place that can help me with my career. And then when we finally had an offer for them, they jumped in.
I love that. I love that. And Ruben, you build a lot on Notion as well, of like the ops and like the systems and things like that. Like, you know, I kind of want to take stock. I actually just want to ask the audience, like, should we all get Ruben to screen share his brain on Notion? Do you all want to see that? Post a yes in the chat if you would like to see behind the scenes, never before content from Ruben Williams live. If you post a yes in the chat, we get enough people, we'll get him to do it on the spot. So we'll see what the audience says if we'd like to jump into that. Because
All
Ruben,
right.
like so many people start out and they think they have to build, you know, the most complicated community. They're going to spend thousands of dollars on a custom platform. Like, let's just take 5-10 minutes stock now in between this conversation and actually just give, you know, the audience have spoken. Can we just get a bit of a demo around like how you actually kind of build the community behind the scenes in SportsGrad to give some people just a couple ideas?
Yeah, sure thing. So if you ask like any entrepreneur what they hate doing, it is fundamentally solving the same problem twice. And so what I like to do primarily through Notion is use it for a lot of standard operating procedures, SOPs. So in here is basically like the wiki of how SportsGrad runs. Like if I've done something once, it's documented in here, and it's a lot. But that means that, like, you know, if we need to do something like, for example, do a podcast that's coming up, we go into the podcast calendar here and we can open up this page and we can see all 300 and something episodes that have gone out and click into any one of them. But if we've got a new podcast coming out, we just go drop down here, new podcast. I'll click on that and everything's sort of like templated and ready to go. So I know what the intro is. I know that every week I just updated how many jumps in sport we've helped people get, give a shout out to someone who we've recently helped in our community. Our intro has got a bit of a formula to it as well. And then so does our set of questions in the story that we'd like to tell of people's careers, and also the problems that they have and questions we can ask people in the industry. Are they going to help get the answers that we want? So everything's kind of been systemized from that point of view for one of our main products, which is this podcast. Another key one is like anytime we run an event as well, there's usually a standard set of ways that we go about it. For example, like, you know, the run sheet for it, or the way that we market it on the night, things we send to guests beforehand or guests afterwards. Like, we've done 45 events across Australia, India, and the UK. And so you get to a point where you're like, all right, we need a photographer, send them the photographer brief. We need a videographer, send them the videographer brief. So all those little things are kind of ironed out, and I don't have to think like, all right, how are we going to make the most of it? It's all been done and turned into a system. And then the other probably key one too is probably for hiring as well. So you can see here we've got all these are basically all job descriptions with that basically speak to every single task that needs to be done within that job. So for example, today or tomorrow, I'm probably going to bring on a new career consultant, and I basically am going to say to them like, hey, here's your job description, here's like the targets we have, and then importantly, here's like every step of the process. So for our career consultant tasks, I basically try and break down, like, you know, why is this task important? What do you need to do? And then what does excellence look like? And I usually show myself doing that through a recorded video as well. So there's absolutely no guesswork on, like, you know, what you need to be doing. And we've done that for everything. So not just like what these consultants have to do, but also, you know, what our operations people have to do, what our content people have to do. Anyone who's ever worked for SportsGrad has got like a page like this that, you know, breaks down what to do and how to do it well at a fundamental level. On top of that, you know, there's room for creativity and room for people to say like, hey, Ruben, you actually don't know the best way to do it. I think we can do it better. I'm like, that's perfect. Like, I want you to bring that to me too. But as a starting point, anything that we know works, we document it and live it in and put it in here. So that's kind of how I use it for my business as well. I've also used it for my personal life as well, and to kind of help build what I end up calling a career operating system. And this is something that we now share with everyone in SportsGrad. And this basically gets people to break down, like, where are you going in your career over 10, 5, 1 years? And then what are the 4 types of career related goals that are going to help you get there? So which we break down into a people goal, a skill goal, a project goal, a brand goal. And then kind of use different types of databases and filters to be like, all right, based on your, 1 year goal, this is what the next 90 days looks like. And based on those 90 days, this is what the next 30 days look like. And then based on those 30 days, how should you be planning your week? And so we set people up with like a weekly planner, which is exactly the same weekly planner that I use, which looks, basically something like this, where we just get people to re-articulate what they're working towards every week, what that looks like throughout the week. So when they're going to get done, how do they, and then review their week as well. Because one of the fundamental problems we find with people chasing any sort of career is that they, laziness somewhat kicks in, or, they'll have like a really fast start and then, they'll fall off a bit. So what this career operating system does is really provide a system and a net for people to keep them productive, so they can actually be consistent with the actions that are going to get them closer to their career. So that is another way that we use Notion to help our community, actually give them a backbone to their career.
Wow, wow, wow. Everyone give a huge reaction applause of Ruben's brain. I told you it was going to be amazing, right? Like Ruben's so cool, because, this can, and for some people, they might just go, oh my God, how do I get to that point? Like, that's wild. Like, I'm so far from that. Like, do you have any advice for anyone who's like, okay, I'm not that organized. I don't have my entire community wiki page set up with like every process document. Like, do I just go and record all the videos for everything in my community operations like right now? Or do you like have a habit to kind of start somewhere small if someone's like just gotten a Notion account and like from day one doing something?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just start. Like what you saw there has been built up over 6 years. And again, like across here, like you can see, like I've got like my journals as well that I use too. On Tuesday this week, I went on the Imperfects podcast and basically kind of told my story and experience of some stuff I've been through. And one of the bits of feedback I got from that was that, oh, Ruben, your recall of your stories and quotes that have come up on your journey is like crystal clear. And I'm like, the reason why it is because I have been journaling for like the last 6 years in Notion. Like all these experiences like immediately come out of my brain into Notion, journal it. And then like at the end of every month, I'll kind of review like key sort of journal entries as well. So that a lot of that helps my recall. But then if you're just getting started from a business point of view, I think the most useful thing that I've found for it is from that SOP point of view, where if you can basically handle any mundane task to somebody else, then that would just make your life a whole lot easier. But to do that effectively, you need to be specific. And so sort of the three sort of headlines that I use to kind of create any sort of, or to handle any sort of task, and for those who aren't Australian, handle means to delegate.
Yeah, AFL.
Yep.
Yeah.
To delegate any sort of task, like the more specific you are, the better. So I'll always answer, why is this important? What do you need to do? Outline the steps. What does excellent look like? And then record myself with like a 5 or 10 minute Loom video doing it well. And one thing I've gotten better at is not creating like a 20-minute Loom video, trying to do the whole thing at once, but actually breaking it down so that your staff can kind of, get through it bit by bit. So yeah, that's where I would start.
Love that. Yeah, the Community Collective, like anytime we have we built an ambassador program, we have 15 new ambassadors who've just joined the Community Collective across 10 different countries. And we all give them our events playbook. So we've got this incredible ambassador, Hakan, in Germany, and he's like, I want to run an event in Berlin for 100 people. And we're like, amazing. So instead of like me saying, okay, great, like go run the event, I'm going to give you the entire events playbook at the Community Collective. We've ran over 480 events for over 20,000 people in 5 years. And so I'm going to give you my events playbook. It's documented. And then I give that to each of our ambassadors and go, this is me setting you up for success. And it's just that one step. So I've just documented it in the process of me handing it over, not I'm going to go away and block out my time, because then it's just not a priority, right? So Ruben, thank you so much for sharing this incredible demo. We're going to get Abby and Selva back up here on stage. Can't forget about our experts, and basically really kind of dive into a little bit more about like metrics and ROI, and then we'll open up into audience Q&A as well. And so everyone here live, if you have any questions at all, now is the time to raise your hand. So you can click the raise hand function if you'd like to jump up on the main stage and ask a question, or if you want to just post in the chat and ask a question, I can then ask on your behalf. And we're going to give away book prizes to anyone who asks live. And I do know Ruben has to head off early at some point because he's got to run a sports grad event that came up last minute. So Ruben, if you disappear at some point, hopefully he stays forever for the next like 8 hours.
I do have to head off.
Nah, that's all good, Ruben. No
Awesome.
stress.
Thanks so much for having me, Paz, and thanks for listening, guys. And yeah, enjoy Notion.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ruben. And so, you know, Abby, Selva, we've spoken about like the core elements of why we build community, what the benefits are for the business, how to make that decision, and then how do we actually start and potentially document some of those operations in Notion. Abby, can we talk about some of the metrics? How do we know if building a community is then actually generating ROI for our business? How do we know if it's on track or off track? Where do we start?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key with metrics, I think going right back to your base point is when it came to me building up my community, we were talking about that monthly cadence, right? We had that co-working day. So as I had that monthly cadence, I got to know my members more deeply. And through that, I was basically having conversations so I could understand what made them tick. I knew that they were maybe making enough money, but not making an impact. They were making an impact, but they weren't making enough money. They had enough work and they were making impact, but they were so burnt out that they were like, I can't even enjoy this. And so understanding these different elements meant that I designed a program that would tap into it. So that's how I was measuring impact within my community. Then I guess understanding that for me, it was around retention and it was around referrals. I knew that it takes me a long time to build a website. It feels so permanent, you know, and I think sometimes as community builders, you have to be a bit flexible and you're playing a little bit of, I used to call myself a basketball player because I was like, I'm just out here on the court pivoting and pivoting and pivoting. But there gets to a certain point where you're like, I've got enough foundations and I need to make sure I don't get into the shiny object syndrome, because there's a lot of opinions that can also pop up in the community. We're like, hey, like when can we, there was at one point where people were like, you really want to do a craft afternoon? And I was like, okay. And so I started organizing these craft afternoons and I'm like, and then I kind of came back to my strategy, my metrics, and I went, do you know, it's actually not my responsibility to run craft afternoons. And so I think that sometimes being able to go, what am I responsible for? And then, you know, this beautiful example of with the ambassador program where we go, if people are like, I want to bring some more magic to the community, going, amazing. Here's the template so you can go and run this and we'll support you. And here's some of the best practices around that. But our focus as an organization is we want to help people make enough money. We want them to build the right systems and we want them to be able to make an impact. And so each of our work, it comes back to that. So impact for our founders, making sure that we're moving the line for them. It's not just a group of people holding hands singing Kumbaya, but actually creating lives that they wanted to build. And then there's these extra bits of magic that happen in between. So yeah, having that strategy just gives you that point to be able to come back, have a foundation, and you can come to it every 6 months. Also bringing your team on the journey as well to be like, you know, we saw that with Ruben where he's like, hey, let's get like a big picture on like, what are our goals as an organization? So then it means that when they get shiny object syndrome, they're like, okay, wait, I'm just going to come back to this and go, oh, actually, when I look at our values, this doesn't tie back to our values. And when I look at our metrics, like this isn't going to move the metrics. So, okay, well, let's build an ambassador for that if they're really passionate about it. So that foundation really makes a difference. And if you're laser focused, you know, you think about sunlight can go wide, but if you get a magnifying glass and you focus in one spot, you can start a fire. So let's focus on building those fires.
Oh, yes. I love that. Joya's comment. This is gold. Absolutely it is, Abby. And I love that, right? Like you have to have a strategy and you have to identify those metrics as Abby has mentioned. And I want to actually like give everyone like a hardcore example of what that looks like, make this really practical for everyone, like taking it to a different level. You know, to have a strategy, you just need to answer kind of 4 key elements. It's who you are as a community. Who do you serve for the members? What is that 10-year vision that you have to make an impact in the world? And what is that 1-year mission of what you're focusing on? So exactly what Abby has just mentioned, it's identifying the core metrics. And so at the Community Collective, we have, we might have like 3 buckets of goals, and then we have a North Star metric, and then basically would have 3 core metrics that attribute to that goal. So for example, like what this would look like completed is understanding, okay, great. Well, if you have an engagement goal, we want to make sure that we hit 80 NPS per cohort. If we have a growth goal, then we want to make sure we have 100 CCs in the program. So you can see, and post a yes if you want us to send this template to you, because if you don't have metrics to understand what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? Why are you building community? You can get pulled in 1,000 different directions, but if you want clarity, then you need to know your key metrics. At the Community Collective, every quarter, we write out metrics, we report on them as a team, whether they're on track or off track. Because if you set goals but have no systems, you're going nowhere. So the strategy is key. And I love that advice, Abby, because you're really then doubling down and actually quantifying community. I hear all the time, it's too hard to quantify community. No, it's not. Try harder. There's 182 metrics that we have documented at the Community Collective that measure if a community is successful or not successful. You just need to make the decision and carve out the time. And it's hard. Like, it's super hard. Like, I totally get it and see everyone here. It's not just as easy as like, pick the metric. You've got to really go through that work and make sure you understand like what works and what doesn't. And so for anyone here, like there's a couple questions in the chat as well. If you have any questions, please post in there. We've got Samantha with a raised hand, which we'll come to in just a moment. But the last question for Selva before we open up into audience Q&A is really about like the return on investment. Like, it's all well and good. We've got the strategy, we've got the metrics, but Selva, how do we make the decision about what we measure? How do we pick the right metrics? What if we've never had a community before? Like, should we just be measuring Instagram followers or how many coffees we had? Like, what is the right metric?
Yeah, I've been asked this question every time I build a community. This is what I kind of like infer to. I try to divide it into and see it as value signals versus activity signals. So what are you going to measure? So generally, the core problem that I find with community metrics is that the teams measure what is easy to measure and not what actually matters. So understanding what matters is important. So post counts, member numbers, daily active users, all of these are activity signals and not value signals. They tell you the community is alive, but they don't tell you whether it is working. So the first shift is to stop asking how active the community is and actually start asking what are businesses trying to accomplish, and the community moving that needle. And we do this by getting back to the basics and starting with the business goals and not with platform dashboard. So generally, there are 3 things community does: acquisition, retention, and expansion. So pick one job that matters right now.
Say those 3 again, Selva. Say those 3 again for us.
Acquisition, retention, and expansion.
Acquisition, retention, and expansion. All right, Ines will write those in the chat for us.
Yeah. So picking the thing at what stage your company is in is actually important. And then connect the community behaviors to the actual business outcomes. So the question to ask is, compared to the customer who are not a part of our community, what do community members do differently? And why they do it differently? So this is the most powerful framing that one can use. And it turns community from a nice to have into a controlled variable. So now once you have a controlled variable, then you can actually put metrics around that. So do community members churn less? Do they expand their contracts more? Do they refer more customers back to us? And if any of those answer is yes, and by how much, that's how you actually build your ROI story. So some metrics that actually holds up are basically retention data, time to value, support deflection, referral rates, and then the expansion revenue that actually we get. And the honest caveat here is there is a correlation versus causation sort of like problem here. Most engaged customers are often already our best customers. They join the community because they love the product. It's not the other way around. The goal isn't to prove community cost the retention. It is to show that it correlates with what reinforces the behavior we already care about, and then build that case over a time. So Basically, to get started, tag your community members in the forum from day one, and then create simple cohorts, community members versus non-community members. Try to compare how your business is doing against this. And that's how we can actually have a clean comparison and then be able to provide a clear value towards ROI. Again, it differs from businesses to businesses, but these are some of the fundamentals that we could look into.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fire, Selva. This is on fire. I love this comment from, where was it? There's so much in the chat, from Jess in the chat. There's so much fantastic information being shared. Yes, there is, Jess. And Selva, like, you raise a really interesting point there, because you need to know what you're engineering and architecting your community for. Is it acquisition, retention, or expansion? Well, pick one of those, and then let's have a look at the metrics. We've actually written a whole white paper on how to calculate the ROI of community. We've done that with Discourse. We'll put the link in the chat for all of you to download this free white paper. There's a whole list of like 35 common metrics that you can start with, which is a really nice element there. And so before we go into audience Q&A, you know, I just want to leave you with this analogy, because when you get in a car to go driving from A to B, which is really expensive at the moment, right? With all that fuel, huh? It's not about just filling the car up with fuel. You don't just get in the car to like fill it up with fuel, stop panic buying and stuff at the moment. You know, it's actually about going from A to B. And the purpose of building a business is not just to fill it with revenue and money and raise capital and VC rounds. It's to go from A to B and have an impact on the people that you are serving. Okay, you don't just get in a car to just like drive around and get jerry cans and just like stuff it with all this fuel. No, you're driving, you have a map and you get in and you're like, great, let's drive from Melbourne to Sydney. Let's go on a road trip. And you might take a couple detours, but when you're building a business, you are there to leave the world in a better place. So be conscious in that. And community is the vehicle in which you have that impact in the world for your company. So building a community for your customers, for your audience, can have that insane amplifying impact to just do good in the world. And so before we jump into audience Q&A, I'll leave you with this kind of core element, and just this, we call it the community cookie, which is what we love to understand. Because if you are running a company, you're going to be on the left, and you will map out what your business is trying to achieve in the next 12 months. And then if you're serving a particular audience segment or members, you've got to work out what they are trying to achieve. And then you build a community, and that vehicle for impact sits right in the middle. And that is where the magic happens. So everyone, we're going to now wrap up with the last, we've got 10, 15 minutes here with Abby, Selva. We've got geniuses on this live workshop today. Lots of people in the recording too in the future. Hey. And I would love to ask you all, what is one question you have for Abby or Selva or myself or Enos or anyone here around building community? So we're going to take 60 seconds. I'm going to put some music on, and we are all going to write one question in the chat. And then we're going to do rapid fire, Abby and Selva, and ask them all the knowledge. And please, this is the time to jump in the queue. So please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question live, and we'll give you a book gift. But we're going to take 60 seconds now, write your question in the chat, and then raise your hand to ask live. Here we go, 60 seconds. Okay, we asked for questions and we got lots of questions. Also, this is a really great facilitation tactic for anyone who runs live events. Don't just go, it's time for audience Q&A and leave like 1,000 minutes of awkward silence. Like make it an activity, all right? So let's just be a bit meta there. We're going to go to Samantha. So Samantha, we are bringing you up on the main stage. If you could please unmute, share your one sentence of your question, and then ask either Abby or Selva or myself to answer. So you get to pick.
Thank you. I've tried to write this question out a million times, so I apologize if it's a bit rambly. But I guess my question is, how do you get volunteers that are out there looking after communities, especially if they're international, to care about business ROI? So I feel like I'm the meat in this sandwich that's determined to like fall apart, and I'm trying to advocate for the volunteers, and then I'm trying to do my job. And I just, yeah, maybe what's one thing I could do to sort of start to shift the mindsets on either side of the sandwich?
I love that. Who would you like to answer, Samantha? You just get to pick someone.
Maybe Abby?
Abby, off over to you.
Do you know what? I actually, if it's okay, I'm going to pass the ball because I actually think I might tap Paz on the shoulder for this, because there's a couple of different projects I think Paz has worked on that I think will really relate back to this.
All right, handball over to me. I've got it. Well, Samantha, I love this question, right? Like your question is, how do we get volunteers of members of the community to contribute and actually care about the ROI, which is also important to the business? That's correct? Yeah. Okay. So when we started the Community Collective, it was me. I quit my job. We had $0. We had nothing. It was a website and a domain and me. I saved about 10 grand in like my personal life, the Paz runway, to just make sure I could build the business without having that stress. And then I thought, okay, what now? And there were all these other people around the world who were like, oh, we'll help. Like we can run meetups. I was like, oh, that's great. But like, I've got the stress of like also setting up a business, but also, there are these people who want to help and volunteer. And so we thought, all right, let's formalize this process and make it very specific. The wrong thing to do is, hey, yeah, you want to help? All right, Doug, what can you do? Yeah, do that. Okay, bye. Which is what so many of us do. They just go, how can you help? Cool, do that. See you later. Whereas what we did the opposite. We said, all right, you want to help? Okay, you've got to apply. The role's going to be an ambassador. This is the 4 specific things that ambassadors do. You host 4 events a year, and you welcome new members to the Community Collective, and you public speak, 3 times a year, for example. So then we had about 50 people apply. We welcomed 4 ambassadors. We caught up with them every fortnight. We share the vision of the Community Collective and the very specific containers in which we sit down with ambassadors, and I ask them, what are the 3 career goals that you have? We had this ambassador, Des. He said, I want to be the best public speaker. I was like, Des, I'm going to give you the stage of the Community Collective all around the world to help you in public speaking. Why that's important for the Community Collective is if we have Des speak at conferences with 300 people about community building, they come up and ask him how he learned this knowledge, and he sends them to the Community Collective, boom, there's 100 referrals. So, and this has happened for the last 5 years. So my advice is be specific, formalize the role, share the vision of the company, but you have to ask ambassadors what their skills are and goals. It's not like, hey, can you just moderate my Slack channel? No, that's free labor. That's not what we're doing here. We run a free professional development program for ambassadors and basically actively help them achieve their goals through the container of the community. Does that make sense, Samantha?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. I ran a whole 80-minute workshop on how to build ambassador program and shared everything. I'll email it to you afterwards.
I would love that. Thank you. Thanks
Amazing.
for responding so eloquently.
No worries. Thanks for the question, Samantha. So we've got Carmen here, which is, I would love to know what the real time commitment is to manage a community each month. Abby, please take us away.
Look, good question. So when you're starting, it's a time investment. I'm a big believer of the vibe attracts the tribe. And so it was important for me to go and show up and really be there. Now, as it's grown, what's happened is that bringing in those ambassador roles, getting people more involved, so getting, creating those participation levels. as people are nurtured along on that sequence, they bring others on. So I now, I've managed to, I have a membership rate. So I do have a team of 3, but that team of 3, they all work just 2 hours a week each. And they had 3 very different specific skills. But it means that I manage the Impact Collab in about 4 hours a week. So part of it was around me going, okay, well, how much do I need to bring in to be able to bring in the support measures to be able to support me? So I knew that for example, I am all over the place. I know that I'm not consistent, and I just I like the poetry, not the plumbing, is the line. And so I need people who are good at the plumbing to make sure that things are always on. And so a combination of great systems, people who love systems, who will manage them, tweak them, and optimize them. And then I just basically could go out and run partnerships and speak with the members and be like, okay, what's next? And like, what's setting your soul on fire right now, so I can design around you. So I guess the question for that is it is more time intensive at the start. And as you grow, if you are building in, and this is why it's also important to go, can I make this financially viable? If it is community as a service, to go, we have this feeling that we're like, oh, well, community should be free, so I have to give away everything for free. That's not sustainable. And the best thing you can do for your members is set yourself up to a place where it can be operating in 5-10 years from now. Because if it's really offering a transformation, we want it to exist. But in order to do that, you need to have a bit of money coming in. You need to be able to bring additional support for the weekly monotonous tasks that need to maybe get done for you to be able to operate like seamlessly. And then the magic comes in with the members and their contributions and things like that. So yeah, it's a bit loaded, and I definitely think with that curve, it can drop down for the person who's running it as you build your support.
Love that. And the best question that I ever ask myself is, how does this community run without me? Every time I'm setting up anything, how does this community run without me? Not to like write myself out of a job, but I only work 8 months of the year. Like I take 4 months off the delivery of the Community Collective. The Community Collective still runs all year round. We have an incredible team, but we have systems that scale without us. And, incredible tech tools like Notion allow you to do that, which is what we saw of Ruben's brain is incredibly documented. So you need to think about that, not to write yourself out of a job, but just make sure you're not the bottleneck for the success. All right, we've got time for like 2 more questions, and then we've got to announce some winners live. But Selva, this one's for you. What is one actionable step you've taken to increase member retention?
Yeah, I think I also answered this in the chat. Someone has asked a similar question, but I'll again say having those sort of like conversations with your initial community members to first understand what they are here for. And then that also will throw you some challenges that they are facing in the community and what makes them to look into some other products than yours. And perhaps like these are some of the knowledge that you can channel into. Like if you're not the product developer, I mean, I've worked in a big companies where product developers don't know the real pain of the community members. So you are kind of like the bridge between the product developers and the community. So having those conversations and listening to them, and also showing intention of clearing their pain points as a community manager or like the person who's running the community kind of like helps in retaining the members. But if you again like don't solve the problem for them over a period of time, they might also like churn. So if there is like a lot of churn, again, like calling the people who churned away to understand the reason for it and not pushing them to come back will also help you to go back and then reset the product and make sure that it's addressing the gaps that's existing, so that tomorrow in the future, new members will not feel the same pain point. So that's how like we look into that.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And, we've got so many good questions in here. So I'm going to just ask another one, which, Abby, this one's totally for you, which is, how do you avoid getting discouraged when your community doesn't come together as quickly as you would like?
I was actually just replying in there to Jessica. So I'm going to bring it out of the chat and not here. Thanks for asking. So I think ultimately recognizing that community, it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It takes time to build trust, for people to recognize that you're reliable. Our role as community builders for people to acknowledge that we are portals and we're actually valuable to them as well. And so when they're like, wow, I mean, something that I was doing in the early days is as I was building out my network, I'd be like, all right, who do you need to talk to? And I'd be like, okay, here's 3 people that I think you need to talk to. And so I was out here building social capital. And so it took time, but after a while, people were like, I just want to have Abby in my corner. And when people were like, hey, can you come and do all this? And I go, look, I've built this membership. The people I show up for, first and foremost, are the people who are here in the container. They went, okay, this is where I need to be. So again, it was that the vibe attracts the tribe. Reduce complexity for people to participate. That is one piece. I see sometimes when people like, I always call it the first pancake out of the pan. Where it's like, the first pancake, it's like, it's not the prettiest, but it's edible. But each time you do that pancake, it gets better and better and better. So don't do a coffee meetup and then like, I'm going to go for a walk next month. And then we're going to do a dinner. And then it's like, people just, we need to remove the mental load that comes with participation. So if they're like, I know how I can get to that coffee shop. I know that there's parking or what my public transport is. I know who's facilitating. I know maybe one or two people. So I know what to expect. And then they'll start bringing other people along. But so much of it is about just keep on showing up, consistency, and seeing how you can support that really core nucleus, because they're going to be the ones. There's a, who was it? He was on the, he ran the How to Build a Movement, Derek Sivers.
Derek Sivers.
Yes.
I was like Seth Godin when we interviewed Seth. I was like, we spoke to him about tries, but yeah, Derek Sivers, he was
Derek
great.
Sivers has a brilliant really short TED talk on how to build a movement. And it's like the first guy dancing in the crowd, and then more and more people come, and they talk about how it's like, it's not actually about the first person who starts. It's about like that one person who comes along, and you're no longer one lone nut. So if you're early adopters, those are your people, right? So
I love that, Abby.
Early adopters.
And really that just ties into the last piece of advice that we'll share here today, which is the worst thing that all of you could do. If you just listen to this one thing throughout this whole session, like just make it this, like the worst thing you could do is build community for people. Shocking strategy. Never do that. Please vow to me. Everyone raise your hand, like raise your physical hands. We're going to vow to me to never build community for people. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to build community with people. So we're going to build community with people. We are going to co-create, find that nucleus, ask them how they can help, make them ambassadors, and not be lone nuts, okay? So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Let's give a huge round of applause, reactions, clap for Abby, Selva, and Ruben, and Alex, who's our host from Notion. They have been absolutely incredible, and I'm so grateful for all of you joining here live today. To wrap the session, we always ask, what have you learned and what have your takeaways been? And I know that there were many questions that we didn't do today because we just had so many active people, which I love. But definitely we run lots of more of these events. If you want us to get Notion back and we'll run another event with them, post a yes in the chat and we'll see what we can do. But really we want to ask you, what was your takeaway from today? What have you learned? What has become more apparent? Post in the chat. Really would love to hear what was your one takeaway from today to really understand so we can deepen that learning together. And yeah, Beck, Silva, Sarah, Danny, all right, we'll go out, we'll ask Notion. We'll see if we can run another event with them because they have been so kind and they have given every single one of you, if you're running a business, 6 months free on the paid Notion subscription for free. Okay, so Enos will post the link in the chat, click the button, go to the form, pop your details in there. They'll approve you if you're running a business, you're a founder, we want to help you, and you get 6 months free. You can use all the AI agents and help build out your community infrastructure, start documenting those processes, build out your strategy that Ruben, Abby, and Silva and I have really spoken about today, because that's what it's all about, right? It's just taking that first step. And if you are really thinking about that first step, one, we're about to give away a free full scholarship to our Community Cohort number 8 program. The person is actually here live, so no one leave because I've got to announce who it is. So let me check. Okay. The person is still here because we are going to give away a free full scholarship to our 8-week program right now. And this is the program that we created after years of studying the architecture of community building. And Sean Greeley went through this program. He's a founder, just like many of you. He had a consultancy business about how to build sales and sales strategies for founders. He joined our cohort number 4. There's Sean there raising the roof. And we basically helped Sean to build a community strategy to turn his business from a one-on-one consulting into a cohort-based model. So he flew all around the world. He gathered with CCians in person. He made so many friends and networks. He joined our live session with Seth Godin, got some incredible advice from Seth, and we gave him access to our community strategy template. And this is me here at the launch of his community. And he has now been running some of the best sales accelerator programs in the country to help people land $1 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue. And basically, Sean took our community strategy template, which we share in the 8-week program, to really help you build that community and understand. Don't go reinvent the wheel. If you're trying to be a pastry chef, you'll go get the recipe from a pastry chef about how to make croissants, and it's 10 times easier. So we've documented how to build the community recipe. We give you that recipe and you get to replicate it. And so today we're giving away a free place. But if you don't get the free place, it's totally fine. Applications are still open for 2 days. So they closes in 48 hours. You're welcome to apply via the link in the chat or book a discovery call with our team. But otherwise, we're going to be giving away the free prize. I'm going to ask this person to unmute and share if they are capable. But it is Beck, who is from Sweden. She is a community builder. And Beck, you were chosen at random from our random prize winner. So Rebecca, congratulations. You are the winner of our full scholarship for Community Cohort number 8. So Beck, I don't know if you want to say any words. It's crazy that you're here live. But Beck, how do you feel?
Pretty surprised. Thank you so much. I was not expecting that whatsoever. I'm actually sitting on the lounge wrapped up in a blanket. It's like 2:15 in the morning here, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Wow, Beck, I'm so glad you got up at 2 a.m. in Sweden, because it's so worth it. We'll give you full scholarship. We'll waive the entire fee. Don't pay any money. We'll give you the 8-week program. It starts next week. Enos and I will personally reach out to you after the call and we'll get you into the program. I can't wait to see you back in the cohort. Thanks, Beck.
Amazing. Thank you.
How fun. Absolutely love that. Beck, oh, how good. Well, gang, that brings us to the end of today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you again to Notion, our incredible partner for the event, Abby, Selva, Ruben, Alex, Enos. How good's Enos, everyone? She's on fire in the chat. And thank you all for the incredible questions. Samantha will send you the free book, and we will create a huge Notion database with all of the links shared from today and all of the community resources. It'll be in the link via the email in the next 24 hours. So please, everyone, have the most beautiful day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope to see you in Cohort 8. We kick next week and we're going to be doing some pretty amazing things. So I'll be hanging out there for 8 weeks and we get to have live sessions like this every week. So I'll see you all in Cohort 8 and at the next event, and have the most amazing day. Bye, everyone. See ya. Stay back for the after party and unmute and say goodbye. All right, unmute, say goodbye. And let's all hear your incredible voices.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.